What's going on, guys? It's me and Mellon. Minutes with Mellon. Smash that like and subscribe. Helps the algorithm. So, what's this? Oh yeah, this is Biden highlights, day 2. So it's all the shit you won't hear about, basically, because it just never gets talked about. Because he's a piece of shit. Let's see here. There we go. Well, we'll start with this one, and then we'll jump over to the Hill. So this is the Nord Stream 2, like the pipeline that they blew up. The largest, I don't know what you'd call it, espionage explosion, industrial explosion ever in the history of ever. Fuck, crazy.
So here's a story that's been kind of forgotten, but
yeah, we'll get it started. Here we go.
Victoria Nuland, who was the driving force behind the war in Ukraine, helped start the war in Ukraine, in January threatened to blow up the Nord Stream pipelines so that Russia couldn't send gas to Europe. Remember this?
I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
So then in September, somebody blew up the pipelines, and that was the biggest man-made environmental disaster in history. If you're worried about climate change, you should be in tears because the amount of carbon that emitted into the atmosphere. So it was pretty obvious to us the Biden administration was involved in this. We said that, and we were immediately denounced by the entire left and the entire media as agents of Putin. Why are they doing that? And by the way, when we actually join this war in force, what will they do to anyone who objects to it? Ooh, they're going to punish people. You watch. But with this in mind, we were a little bit surprised to see Victoria Nuland essentially admit last week that she did it. Watch this.
Senator Cruz, like you, I am, and I think the administration is very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea.
Oh, she's excited about it. When it happened, they said, we're upset about it. We have no idea who did this. And if you think we had a hand in it, you're Putin. What are we watching here? Tulsi Gabbard is a former presidential candidate. She joins us tonight. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on. So now they're basically admitting it and nobody is saying anything? Why?
I think there's two really important things for the American people to take away from what you have just outlined here. Number one is that statement from Victoria Nuland just exposed her and the administration's truth, which is that they have been lying to us all along about this. There's no way the United States was not either involved or knew about this or at the very minimum approved it. So they've been lying to us. They've been deceiving us, saying, hey, look, the United States had absolutely nothing to do with this, while also trying to sell us the absurd lie that, well, of course, Russia somehow bombed their own, exploded their own energy infrastructure to hurt their own economic interests. That it just shows how stupid they think we are, that we would buy such an absurd.
On some Special Operations Forces was the coordinator of the Nord Stream operation. People familiar with his role said managing logistics and support for a 6-person team that rented a sailboat under false identities and used deep-sea diving equipment to place explosive charges on the gas pipelines. As pointed out by the Daily Wire's Greg Ree, it took the Washington Post a year to admit that Tucker Carlson was right about Nord Stream. A year ago, the Post published analysis on Tucker Carlson's, quote, shoddy case linking the U.S. to alleged Nord Stream sabotage. Then 6 months ago, they reported that the U.S. had intelligence of detailed Ukrainian plans to attack Nord Stream pipeline. The Gray Zone's Aaron Mate weighed in on the Washington Post Nord Stream arc, tweeting, quote, your first clue that the Washington Post new Nord Stream scoop is yet another CIA cover story is in the second graph. U.S. and Western officials have called the Nord Stream bombings a dangerous attack on Europe's energy infrastructure. No, top U.S. officials, namely Blinken and Nuland, have openly celebrated the Nord Stream bombings as a tremendous strategic opportunity that they're very gratified by. Meanwhile, contributing editor at Unheard, Mary Harrington, added on the story's timing, it's official, Ukraine is no longer the current thing.
Earlier this year, we spoke to veteran journalist Seymour Hersh. Here he is defending.
When I first did Beeline, controversial. And so you have to understand, there's no alternatives. Either the people I've known inside have one thing in common, whether military or civilian, and that is they really understand that they've taken their oath of office not to their boss, not to the general or admiral, and not to the president, but to the Constitution. And those are people that when they get troubled by things that are going on, have talked to me. And this been going on, I've done this for 50 years.
All right, so what do you make of this story? Aaron Mate, as we just read, is continuing to express some skepticism that this is the full extent of it, pointing out that this explosion, when we have on record a number of U.S. officials saying that it was strategically advantageous for the United States. Do you think this is the full story, or do you agree with what Aaron Mate seems to be alluding to here, which is that there's more and perhaps more implications of the U.S. government in this?
Well, I mean, like Seymour Hersh's version of events, this version of events, other version of events, I can't read the direct intelligence, right? You're relying on some narrator, some mediator to say, I saw documents, I talked to people, and this is my analysis. That was true of Seymour Hersh, who's a great journalist, but he was telling us things that he had seen and heard, not documents we could review ourselves. That's the same case with the Washington Post. I think the original narrative about what happened, remember the original narrative about Nord Stream was that Russia did it. That's what the mainstream media eagerly asserted without evidence or much motive to do it. Yeah. So that seems to have totally collapsed.
So originally it was, Russia blew up their own pipeline. So whoever, in the Washington Post was pushing that out like hardcore. So that just tells you that all that mainstream news shit, like it's literally all fake. It's all fucking fake. Well, who would believe that? Yeah, Russia's gonna blow up their own fucking pipeline. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But yeah, that's
Here with his.
What's Captain Dipshit?
If Russia invades, that means tanks. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you we'll be able to do it. If Russia invades.
See, I promise you we'll be able to do it. That's just so fucked up. It's Germany's project, dude. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that. That's day 2 now. Can't wait till number 3.